Hello, my name's Chloe, and today we're going to be putting the Harry Potter characters into Percy Jackson cabins. I'm wearing my trusty Camp Half-Blood shirt, and yeah, let's get started. When creating this list, I went in order to who I thought was the easiest to place and the hardest to place. I started with Hermione. We all know she would be in the Athena cabin. It's her intelligence, it's her bravery, she is a shining star. I think the Athena cabin is perfectly what people are always talking about, where like, she's 100% a Gryffindor, but I just can't help but think she's also a Ravenclaw. And I think Athena's cabin is the perfect combination of that. I also think the dynamic of Annabeth and Hermione being siblings is really funny to me because they'd either be best friends or they'd absolutely hate the living shit out of each other. And I mean that so literally. I wish I could have thought of something more creative for Hermione, but honestly, I feel like this is pretty point blank. But yeah. Neville. I'm putting him in Demeter's cabin because when I think of Demeter, I think of the spring, I think of nature, I think of just all the things that are very nurturing, and I think that perfectly encapsulate Neville. Semi off topic, but it has a point. I always hate when people villainize Demeter in the story of Persephone and Hades. I don't know if this is a hot take now, but I really like them as a couple. Persephone is one of my favorite Greek gods ever. And I just think that Demeter in that story shows her strength as a mother. She's just everything. It's not only the nature elements when it comes to Neville and Demeter, I think it's also the willingness to never give up. I think that shows the Gryffindor parts of Neville, because that is exactly what Neville does in the Harry Potter stories. I did Cho Chang, and Cho Chang, I believe, in my heart, would be in the Aphrodite cabin. I don't know if this is a bias thing, because we mostly see Cho Chang in just like this love interest kind of role, but personally, I think of the Aphrodite cabin as positivity and sisterhood and spreading love, and I feel like that is Cho. I feel like what really makes Cho part of the Aphrodite cabin is you just feel things much more deeply, especially when it comes to love. And if that's not Cho Chang, I don't know what is. When I'm saying Aphrodite, I don't mean this horror depiction that we keep casting as villains for Aphrodite campers. I'm thinking of just sleepovers and fun. Also like Cho and Aphrodite, there's some bite to her. I don't know. This just seems so obvious to me. Total wild card, but I don't know why I just couldn't get over this. Tom Riddle in the Zeus cabin. I don't know if it's like the power balance of Zeus always being this dictator, or maybe it's just the lightning bolt that he put on Harry's head, but I just see Tom Riddle and Zeus being the same level of narcissism. The only difference I would say, whoa, the sun is very bright all of a sudden. The only difference is that Zeus is a man whore and Voldemort feels no love. So take that as you will. I think most people thought I would have put Harry in Zeus, but I'm putting him in Hades. Crazy enough, Harry Potter is one of my favorite characters in the series, which is rare for it being about him. I just think he's a perfectly flawed character. I don't think people like to see the flaws in Harry. He's very sarcastic. He goes through so much. He's always on this brink of death. And I feel like if I was to see him in this world, I just see him also being surrounded by it, like with Hades. Of all the gods, Hades keeps to himself. He stays in his world, and the things he loves passionately. And I think that's perfectly encapsulate Harry. And Harry has his ups and downs. He goes through being a good kid to being an angry kid. And I just feel like he's really misunderstood in the fandom and in the series by everyone, especially when there's that moment where just no one believes him. And I think Hades, no one believes that he can be a good guy. Also, Harry and Tom Riddle, I just think them being in Zeus and Hades, the big three, there'd be that tension of that, and there's like this battle of the brothers when they have their twin wands. I don't know. Harry was hard for me until it wasn't. The second that this clicked in, I'm like, yes. Perfect. Fred and George. I picked two different cabins for them to be in. I think the obvious choice is Hermes because of the tricksterness about them, always like just being the outcasts, being the Stoll twins, basically. But I also said Dionysus. I think there's a certain theatric to them. They encapsulate a certain essence of a party. So I picked two cabins because there's two of them, and I just feel like Hermes was the easy choice, but Dionysus is the more interesting choice. I have nothing really philosophical to say on this one, but my next three are Ginny, Luna, and Draco. Here's my problem with this. There were some cabins that I'm like, yes, this makes sense, I like this, but an itch in my brain that said, no, these are the cabins they would be in. And these cabins aren't at Camp Half-Blood, but instead at Camp Jupiter. put Ginny in Bologna. Bologna is a purely Roman god. Bologna is a god of war, and she's a very violent one at that. If I was just thinking of the characters in Percy Jackson, and the first person that came to mind when thinking of Ginny is Reyna. I just think Reyna is in a very similar position to Ginny through a lot of things. When I think of Ginny, I think of like almost an odd one out that needs to prove herself in such a strong way. She is the only girl in an all-male family. She is a fighter, she doesn't back down, she's a bit of a trickster at times, but also she's just strong and fierce. And this is an off-topic thing. It was one of the things that I was so upset about when they made the adaptation into movies, because they took away what made Ginny, Ginny. If I was to put her into the cabins, she would also be in like a fighter state. I think she has a little bit more light in her heart than I think Reyna does. I love Reyna. She's a top tier character for me. This just felt right. But to keep it in the Camp Half-Blood theme, if I can't pick people from Camp Jupiter, I'm gonna say she'd be a hunter of Artemis. Despite Ginny being with guys in the series, I just feel like if the option was presented to her that to give up men for the rest of her life and to join the hunters and to live immortally with like all this sisterhood, but also to fight these battles and like for that level of importance for her, I think she'd do it. And maybe I've just completely misread the character of Ginny, but tell me in the comments. Luna. I put her in Minerva. I think when people think of Luna, they think of whimsical and a little bit airy, but she's intelligent. She is in Ravenclaw. Minerva is the Roman version of Athena, but she is so much different. Minerva is the goddess of wisdom, but she's also the goddess of poetry, of craft, medicine, all these things that I think really encapsulates Luna in a different way than Athena does. Minerva is a lower god in Jupiter. I think Luna falls through the cracks in the setting of Hogwarts, not in the fandom. Everyone loves Luna. Something about it just felt right to me. And I actually feel like I have no real explanations. And then I think if I had to pick a Greek version, I'd go Apollo, because I think that plays into her arts and the things that she loves. I feel like the Apollo kids are a bit more nice, they're more caring. Also, prophecy. She always seems to know something that others don't. Even when she doesn't realize it, she's just always saying these things that make you go, huh, maybe you're right. I said he was a son of Bacchus, which is the Roman version of Dionysus. When I think of Draco, I think of this aristocratic man who is in this world of lush life, if that comes with wine, but he's also in this world of madness with all the different types of things coming at him in this dark world. He has these feelings of grief, but he's also very dramatic, so I feel like the theatrics come into that. But the thing about Bacchus versus Dionysus is he's much more warlike, and I think you really need to encapsulate Draco's fire. What sparked this video for me is I saw this video on TikTok was assigning the Slytherin boys into Percy Jackson cabins. Obviously, Draco came up, and they put him in Hades. And for some reason, like, I could see it, I could see why that person did that, but it didn't feel completely right to me. But I have to play to Draco's villain side, so if I had to pick someone in the Greek version, I would pick Nemesis. Nemesis is the god of retribution. Nemesis is the god of retribution. Nemesis is the god of retribution and vengeance. And I just feel like that also could get the essence of Draco. And I don't know why. I feel like Draco would be mad by this, but I just see him being a minor god. I don't see him being like one of the big three. Yeah. Last but certainly not least, Ron. We're back to fully Greek, we're back to Camp Half-Blood. I just put him last because this was the hardest for me. I went through every single cabin. And I was like, none of these are Ron to me. Then I clicked and it was Ares. Ares is the god of war. Ares' kids they're fierce and they're loyal, but they are always trying to prove themselves. If it's that to their father or to the rest of the camp, like think of Clarice. Clarice as a character, if you stripped away the bully factors of her, be very, very similar to Ron. And I don't know why, that just felt perfect to me. And I think next to Harry's trying to prove himself, but he's also just trying to stay alive. Ron is in this perpetual shadow of Harry, and it's more casted in the movies and the books because the thing is Ron loves Harry. Ron is the youngest boy of his siblings. He's constantly looking up to all of these male influences. His mother forgets about him. He just has the fire in him that I think the Aries cabin does. I don't think he's as aggressive or as angry, but he's a Gryffindor. He has that fight in him. Let me know in the comments if you think I'm completely wrong or who you'd put in each of the cabins. And if you like this, let me know. Maybe I'll do the Marauders next, maybe some other characters from a different franchise. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe or leave a comment. Anything is great. And yeah, have a great day. Toodles!